outside of England, or are you right now just primarily Forlorn Hope is in the UK and that's it?
Yeah, so far it's just been in the UK. I mean, don't get me wrong, we would absolutely love to be playing internationally.
Oh, sure,
That would be
absolutely.
fun. That
But
would be
you're fairly
fantastic.
new. I mean, like you
Yeah,
said, you're
well, like I
fairly
say,
new. You said 18 months out. I mean, you've got time
yeah.
to build and
Oh yeah. Well, like I say, one day, I have no doubt we'll get there. We'll keep pushing, and we'll make it happen. Like I say, we're getting people contacting us, ordering stuff or just to say hi from all over the world all the time. So we'll just keep at it, keep up that momentum, and then who knows where it's going to end. But like I say, at the moment the offers for international tours haven't come rolling just yet.
well, you
But
got to build it. Yeah,
we're waiting.
if you build it, it will come.
Exactly. Well, that's the. I mean, for my money, if I had my way, I'd love to get out overseas, and I'd love to play some gigs, in Spain and Portugal at some of the places that are featured in the album.
That would be
how
cool.
How cool would that be?
Especially with people like dressed up in in the garb.
Just get a massive bus and just bring a load of reenactors over and do that. That'd be immense.
That would be so cool.
One day we might just have enough money and enough fans to make it happen. Who knows?
That would be
never
kind
say
of
never,
fun
right?
if you think about it. That
Well,
would be
we
really...
definitely love you have you here in the U.S.
Mate, we would. That would be amazing. We would love to. What's the metal scene like in the US? Because I've got no.
That's so funny. We were going to ask you what the scene was like in the United Kingdom, and you just turned it around on us.
I'm interviewing you now.
And that's okay though. It's strange. We were talking with another band, with another guy yesterday, we interviewed him, but we talked with him a couple weeks ago. And if you're big in America, you're big all over. But we were talking about power metal in general and how it's kind of come full circle and it's becoming kind of the next. It's kind of resurging. It's coming back.
Definitely.
In general, but it's tough here in the United States. We have a couple of big power metal festivals that are there, but it's really tough to tour here because it's so big, so spread out, and it's hard to get fans to go to a show. Unless you're like Iron Maiden or one of those, but it's hard. And
I know what you mean. Like I said, the power metal thing. Similar thing here. It's never been. Power metal has never been as massive, here in the UK as it is on the continent.
Right.
In Europe.
Right.
I mean, obviously, that's where it originates and stuff like that, and so they're mad for it there. But we can hope that it's getting bigger. I feel like a lot of power metal bands are getting more and more traction. I mean, just last week, I was at Bloodstock Festival, the biggest exclusively metal festival in the UK.
Yeah,
and
we watched.
I'm watching Sabaton headline have their fucking breakthrough moment headlining Bloodstock, and now they're playing Wembley Arena here in February, and it's like, you guys have fucking arrived now, and to see a power metal band like that, especially one that was so much of an inspiration for me doing this. I mean, you can't do a historical power metal band and pretend like you weren't influenced by Sabaton.
Exactly. See, now that band,
what?
that band can tour here and they can headline and they can sell out a pretty good sized arena here, Sabaton. With now if you're a band like yourself or like a smaller power metal band, you can support that band and get really good, do a tour like that, and you could do very well.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just going to go do a tour of the United States by yourself, you're going to play 100, 200 people. It's really sad.
Well, to be fair, I mean most of the little unsigned gigs that we play over here, we don't get 100 people. So that'd be great.
And that's what Toby was going to ask you is what is the scene like in the United Kingdom, and what kind of crowds? What are the venues like? How many people show up? And you just answered that. I mean,
I suppose I think there are tons of amazing, sort of unsigned bands in the UK. I think, obviously, the issue we face these days is, it's, same in all the sort of creative industries, that is especially with it being, it's far easier to, to get the stuff together to form a band and, make yourself an album or an EP than it used to be, 30, 40 years ago. You needed proper resource back then. Now you can, with a bit of extra kit, you can do that off in your bedroom.
Yeah.
Right.
But like I say, there are so many more bands than there are opportunities. And like I say, there are fantastic bands across the country. And there is a thriving unsigned scene. Like I say, because these bands are itching for gigs. They're playing, every week in your major cities. You've got fantastic unsigned bands playing. The only issue really is that, obviously, as you say, unless it's a big name, convincing
people to come out and see you,
is always a challenge. And then you have the issue of the money isn't really there. I would be stunned if there's a single unsigned band in the UK that actually turns a profit. They're all doing it for the love of it, and you see some of them, having their breakthrough moment, with big support slots, or with getting on at Bloodstock. I would say Bloodstock are a fantastic festival for keeping their ear to the ground and really bringing some of those talents that have been slogging away for years and giving them that slot on a big stage.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, but I think it is a struggle because for a lot of bands, you're paying for the whole thing out of your own pocket. There really isn't much in the way of money coming back to you. So apart from the select few that really managed to break through, it's that I think for a lot of unsigned bands, it feels like there's maybe a ceiling that you keep bumping up against because you're struggling to break through. But at the same time, there are people across the country, promoters at all levels, fans who are really passionate about it and really do their, media people who really do their best to push these unsigned bands, get new audiences interested, and convince people to come down to a show. And and like I said, there are so many small festivals in the UK. We have seen a lot cancelled lately because of lack of interest, which is a shame. But the ones that go ahead are fantastic events. Like I say, it's tough, the unsigned scene. But I'd say but there's a lot of talent, and I'd say it's positive, it's hopeful, and it's people. Because I think it's people coming together through a shared sort of passion and shared creativity. So it has that inherent sort of positivity about it. So yeah, it's a great thing to be a part of.
I would absolutely agree with that. I think that's something that we all are kind of agreeing with, is that positivity and that all of us kind of collaborating and agreeing with that. But we have that very similar agreement about here. It's there's no festivals for us, and getting everybody to kind of get together in one spot for it is really difficult for the same reasons. Financially, it costs a lot of money for us to get bands, especially the top quality bands or the bands that we love, especially the ones from Europe, over here. It costs way too much money to get a good band from Europe, even an unsigned band that is top quality, to get them over here. It costs so much money, and then to try to get everybody to congregate in one part of the country because the U.S. is so big, and then everything else, and it's just difficult. The greatest thing that we've got going for us now, and we've talked to a lot of people that we've interviewed and discussed, is obviously electronic, is the internet, and being able to share and internet radio what we do, and then being able to share music and Spotify and those platforms, and being able to share music and get the word out is different than it was 20 years ago.
I think that's a fantastic thing. That fantastic sort of globe shrinking effect that the internet has. That these community, you can build up these online communities that don't have any geographical boundaries. That people can find out if you just put up something online with the right tags, someone anywhere in the world can find you who would never have heard of you 20, 30 years ago. And that's fantastic. It's just a shame that when it comes to sharing the live music, that whole geography issue, that becomes a very real issue against that's several thousand miles away.
I know, and it's so tough. It's so tough because from continent to continent, it's horrible because we always feel like we're on the wrong continent. We want to be in Europe, and then people in Europe are like, we need to be in the U.S., and it's It's like, we just need a big island in the middle of the Atlantic where, power metal central where we could all be and
meet.
Well, grass is always greener on the other side.
I know, right? It's true though. Let's see.
Where do you see Forlorn Hope in the future?
Yeah, there you go. There's a good question.
Oh. Where do I see Forlorn Hope in the future? Well, in the very short term, next 18 months or so, I see us pushing for more and more. We'll be playing more and more UK gigs. Hopefully building up that fan base as much as we can. We've got some bookings at some really great little independent festivals coming up in the next few months. Next month we're in Birmingham at Power Metal Quest Fest with Ancient Bards headlining and Memories of Old and a whole bunch of other bands.
We love those guys. We love those bands.
Yeah, who else played? Dekesis are playing Control the Storm, who just had they played a fantastic set the other week at Bloodstock. So yeah, we are opening that day. So that's a real privilege for us. Like I say, with some big names on there, and all of the bands just real quality. That's going to be a fantastic event. We're playing an event called Ragnarok Metal Fest down in Norwich. Oh yeah. In the East Midlands in November. We're playing Pentrefest, which is an event in North Wales, in February next year. We're playing a brand new power metal and symphonic metal event in Yorkshire called Enchanted Storm Festival next year. That's in April. So yeah, we're going to keep doing that. Really, next year the main goal for us is to get out and play the length and breadth of the UK. There's loads of big cities. We haven't really had the chance to play many gigs in the south of the country yet. Okay. We really want to get down to. London, obviously, and to as many other places down south as we can. Like I say, let's get into Wales. Let's get up to Scotland. We want to try and play across the entire length and breadth of the country, build up that fan base, and then hopefully in the not too distant future after that, we'd like to do a couple of little sort of intermediate releases, couple of singles, maybe an EP, working towards the goal of album 2 in I would hope 2021, about that sort of time.
Okay. Well, that's a good goal. I mean, that's a pretty fair goal.
Oh yeah.
Are you thinking to stay independent, or would you probably shop for a label, or don't you really know at this point?
Well, I mean, we do, as far as we're concerned, in terms of we're making all these plans on the assumption that we'll be doing it under our own steam, that we'll still be independent. Sure. I mean, if a label came along, a big label, then hey, absolutely. Fantastic.
I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages to having a label. We all know that, but yeah,
but it's. Like I say, there's loads of bands out there. I think there's a lot of work to be done before we'd even get to the level to be noticed like that. So who knows? It would be nice, and obviously we'd definitely consider any sort of offer like that. But like I say, we're quite happy at the moment to crack on, crack on working hard under our own steam and keep building up the fan base ourselves. It's been working all right for the last 18 months, so let's just try and build some momentum with it.
I totally agree. That's great. That's great news. Where can fans and listeners of our station and whatnot, and where can we find your album and merch?
Facebook.
And find you on Facebook.
Give us the leads on that so that everybody knows where we can find you, your stuff. We want to know
Fantastic.
all that too.
Well, yeah, sure. Right, we're on Facebook. It's facebook.com/ I think it's official Forlorn Hope or Forlorn Hope official. Just search Forlorn Hope on Facebook.
We'll have the links to.
Yeah, I can never remember the exact tags on all of them, but like I said, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Forlorn Hope Band, I believe. Like I say, we get lots of fun stuff. We get lots of fun content on all 3 social media platforms, and we don't duplicate a lot of big important stuff we'll put across all three, but sometimes, there's Instagram specific stuff, there's Twitter specific stuff. So if you use all three platforms, do find us. We'll send you good fun stuff on all three. And also the hub for all things Forlorn Hope is our official website, which is forlornhope.uk, and that is where our web store is.
Okay.
You can buy yourself a copy of the album. You can download a digital copy if that's your preference. We've got we've got all sorts of merch on there. We will be in the next few days restocking our album T-shirts because they sold out very quickly.
Yeah,
we're doing a restock of those, and we'll have patches and art cards and all sorts of stuff going up for sale independently there.
Toby's over here dancing. He's a patch whore. We're making him a battle vest, and he's all about patches. We've got a whole collection of them to sew on his battle vest, and he's just patch. Every time we talk to somebody, you got patches? You got patches?
Good stuff. Oh yeah. No. Well, we can get you one of them. We've got some lovely patches that we got sorted just for the album. And if you want everything, we've got a couple of little bundles up there where you can buy. Yeah, we got bundles. You buy album T-shirt and all sorts of stuff. I think the big bundle comes with a set of custom guitar picks that you can't buy anywhere else. You can't buy those independently. Those are cool. Yeah, just a casual plug there.
I was gonna actually circling around.
Forlornhope.uk.
I was going to ask you a question too, circling around now that I think about it, because sometimes I remember questions, because we don't find a lot of people in bands who play an instrument, in your case guitar, and do vocals. I was going to ask you, because recently a couple of people that we've interviewed, that's come up quite a bit. Is that a challenge for you to do both, to sing and play?
Yeah. Definitely. Well, I started off. I've been into metal since I was, my early teens. And then when I started actually doing metal myself, I started playing a little bit of guitar when I was maybe 16 or 17. And actually that was around the time when I first met Alex, our guitarist, and he gave me a few little sort of rudimentary lessons because he's actually a proper guitarist. He can play. He's not a hopeless chord basher like me.
Right.
And I learned a few bits, but I never took proper lessons. I was never properly into it. And then, and I'd always sung. I'd always been doing singing since I was a kid. I was in choirs, I was in musical production and stuff like that.
Right.
So then when I thought about actually getting into metal, I never thought, I'll play guitar, because I was hopeless. And I was always like, well, I might sing, and that was what I did in my first band in Cathar, which is with 80% of Forlorn Hope was in Cathar.
Right.
And I just sang and then did that, and then when that split up and I started writing, I sort of went back to the guitar, got a little bit better, got good enough to do, a covers band, and I was sort of writing with the guitar. And then when Forlorn Hope came along and became a thing, so I decided I'm going to do this. I was like, okay, well, we've already got 5 people in the band. We've got a good sort of working balance between the 5 of us. Don't really want to bring in a 5th person, so I'm going to need to work a hell of a lot harder on this whole guitar thing. Okay. I'm going to do that, and I think it's a very, so I got, like I say, I sort of just worked with that and learned it, and like I say, I'm playing the rhythm parts. I'm not soloing or anything, so I get by. The playing and singing part, you get used to, and it just sort of, like I said, when you start off, it sounds completely alien, and it's really awkward, and then it just sort of comes. The thing that really felt awkward for me when we first started gigging was having to stay in one place and not being able to do so much, because obviously if you're singing while you're playing, you're kind of tied to a microphone stand, and I was used to holding my microphone and being all over the place and getting in the crowd's face and moving about, and it was that initially felt like a real challenge and a real obstacle to me, was to be able to go, okay, can I deliver that same level of energy and engagement when I have to stand in front of the microphone, and when I have to be using my hands for playing the guitar, and that was something that just took a lot of took a lot of getting used to, like say in our early gigging days, and now like I say, now it feels completely natural. Now I have that sense of where I have the breaks in the song, and I imagine if I went back to just singing, we had another guitarist, I imagine I would have no idea what to do with my hands or where to stand or anything like that. The one thing I would really love, it's expensive, so it's a plan for the future. I would love a headset radio mic, so I don't have to have the mic stand, so I can walk around, I can play guitar, and I can get up. Yeah, so I can just have like the headset, so I can walk around and get in people's faces. The Britney mic. If you say Britney mic, everyone knows what you mean. Yeah. One day I will get a Britney mic, and it'll be amazing.
We'll get the Chris Simpson GoFundMe Britney mic page going up here. So.
That'd be amazing. That's the next big investment. The great advantage of not being a proper guitarist is that you don't spend loads and loads of money on new guitars.
Sure,
because anyone who's a proper guitarist, I'd say a good half of them have a serious addiction to buying more guitars.
Exactly.
But you have that thing when you're only so good at playing, you're like, well, that's a nice guitar, but I don't think I'm actually good enough to justify buying that nice guitar.
Exactly. There's an advantage to not being a musician. I have no musical aptitude, so I don't have to buy nothing. I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. Good thing I can't play it.
I do miss the good old days of loading gear when I was just a singer.
Right, you just pick up the microphone.
I've put my microphone in the car. I'm all loaded in, guys. How are you getting on with that drum kit? And now I have to lug around an amp and all this stuff like the rest of them. So these things happen.
So, is there anything that you would like to add?
Anything? Yeah. Do you want to say anything to the fans out there? Anything you want to add?
Anything I want to add? Well, I'm thinking about. I mean, all right. The two things I would say is get down to Power Metal Quest Fest. This is for UK listeners, well, US listeners if you've got the budget. Get to Birmingham on the 28th of September to the Asylum venue and come to Power Metal Quest Festival. It's going to be immense. Come early, watch us open, and then come buy all our merch, and you'll have a fantastic day. That's thing number one. Thing number two, if you haven't bought our album already, please do.
Yes, absolutely.
Get over to Forlorn Hope UK, and like I say, if you've got no money, it's on Spotify, it's on all the streaming services. Have a listen. Come over to social media. Let us know what you think. And I think number three, I think really we're coming. The album was released on the 26th of July, so we're about 3 weeks now since it was released. So we've had. So we're coming to. I'd say we're maybe coming to the end of that initial hype set, because we had 3 months of hyping it up.
Sure.
After between announcing it and releasing it, and now it feels like we're sort of coming to the end of the hype section. The people that were. Everyone who was hyped for it coming out has it and has listened to it, and it's all great. So I think. Looking back on all that whole process and just a bit reflective, I think I'd just like to say thank you, massive thank you to everyone everyone who gave us so much support and positivity through the whole process, who, took the time to engage and share your excitement and give us feedback and just like I say, just make the whole thing feel worthwhile. We have it may not be the biggest fan base in the world yet, but we have got a fantastic fan base, and they make this whole project a real pleasure. So yeah, I'd like to thank each and every one of them for all of the support they've shown us in the last however many months, and that they continue to show us every day. They're all fantastic. So thank you guys.
Well, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to do the interview, for all of the support that you've given us too, for letting us have your music, for letting us share it, because like I said, we're all heavy metal nerds. We do this, but we appreciate what you guys have given us, the opportunity as well. So we thank you for taking the time to do the interview with us today too.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. It is always a pleasure to be. It's always just be given a platform to have a little chat about the music on, and I say little chat, to rant on for an hour about the music and bore people to tears, So yes, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're very welcome. All right.